In this video, I'm going to show you the fastest way to grow on Instagram without spending a penny on advertising or messaging hundreds of people in the hopes that one of them will give you a shout out on their page. Everything you need to know to grow is right here in the phone in your back pocket, but it might not be in exactly the place that you're thinking. This is the place I mean, your Instagram Insights. But what I'm not going to do in this video is walk you through the entire Instagram Insights dashboard, because honestly, you don't need to know everything that is in there. You don't need to know what all of the metrics mean. And honestly, a lot of it is just a bit of a distraction. So rather than do that, what I'm going to show you in this video is exactly what you need to focus on to grow fast and organically on Instagram. And actually that point about not getting distracted brings me really nicely onto point number one, knowing what does and does not matter on Instagram Insights. Don't be like most people on Instagram and neglect your Instagram Insights, or worse, fixate on the wrong information. What is the wrong information, I hear you cry? Well, that's things like follower growth, follower demographics, and knowing exactly when your audience is online and most active. That information about your followers and when they're most active, it can be interesting to know, but it doesn't provide a huge amount of value. Because unless you're a brick and mortar store or you only serve a certain market in the world, then what you'll probably find is that your followers are most active when you are most active. Because when you are online engaging with them, that is when they start engaging back with you. Next up is clarifying the time period for which you should be analyzing your insights. Instagram will default to a 7-day period. You want to change this whenever you are looking at your Instagram Insights to 30 days. Things change all the time on Instagram, and day to day, week to week, your engagement will fluctuate, and that's absolutely fine. So the best way to properly analyze how you are doing is to look at a month view. Before we dive into the specifics of what you're looking at and how to glean valuable lessons from the data, it's first worth clarifying what areas of Instagram Insights you should actually be focusing on, because there's a lot of them, right? And I've told you what not to look at, so now let me tell you what to look at. And those two areas are the accounts that you've reached and content you've shared. The accounts you've reached section is helpful insofar as it will tell you what content types are really helping to expand your reach. And to be honest, if you're creating Instagram Reels, you'll probably see that it's Instagram Reels that are helping you do this the best. Now, some of you wise owls might have already guessed that to get the most out of the content you've shared section, to really be able to look at that area and glean valuable lessons, you've got to share content. A lot of it, consistently. Now, I don't mean you have to post every single day, but you need to have been in the habit of sharing content at least 3 times a week for at least a month or two to be able to start taking lessons from that content and lessons from that data. And once you do that, you can follow the process that I use every single month. Now, what I do is I open up my Instagram account and filter by the last 30 days. Now that I can see all the content I've shared, I can start to filter by different metrics. I always focus on the active forms of engagement, so saves, shares, follows, website taps, comments, and reach. I don't actually track likes because, as far as I'm concerned, likes are a passive form of engagement. Compare it to somebody leaving a comment or saving a post or double tapping on the link in my bio to go and check out my website. Those are all really, really key indicators that my content has resonated with my audience. So those are the ones that I track. The next thing I do is open up my Instagram content calendar spreadsheet where I house my ideas for the month before I go and build them out in Notion. Because I've got the ideas here already, this is the previous month of ideas that I've already created, what I do now is fill in the data. And I've got this handy engagement formula already built into the spreadsheet, which figures out the engagement rate and tells me how well my posts have done in terms of engagement. This really allows me to make sense of the data so that I can start drawing conclusions from it. Just before we talk more about that and what I now do with the conclusions that I'm drawing, let's talk about the elephant in the room, Instagram Reels. Annoyingly, or perhaps not annoyingly, depending on the way you look at it, you cannot see your data for Instagram Reels inside of this area, content you've shared. What you need to do is jump out of content you've shared and go into the section that is purely for Instagram Reels. And then what you can do is add the data into your spreadsheet in the same way that you were doing before, but this time you're looking at the metrics, plays, saves, and comments. And of course, if you incorporate a lot of IGTV, or what is known as Instagram video now, or Instagram Lives in your content strategy, then you can go into these relevant areas of your insights section and gather the data in a similar way and add it into your spreadsheet. Now here comes the magic part, because you can use all of this data and all of these numbers as inspiration for future content ideas that excite your audience and grow your followers. Because the number one way to attract more of your ideal follower, customer, or client on Instagram isn't to be completely original and constantly be creating content that no one's ever seen before. Instead, it's to really understand your ideal follower and then closely analyze the content that's resonating with them, the content that isn't resonating with them, and do more of what is already working. And that's what your insights allow you to do. They provide clues for what content to create next month. So at this stage, with the content topics, formats, and analytics in front of you, it's time to make notes. What formats and topics have performed well, and conversely, what formats and topics have not performed so well. For example, carousel posts might perform consistently well, whereas photos just aren't landing as well with your audience. Or it might be that a certain topic just doesn't seem to be resonating with people. Maybe your how-tos and your tutorial posts just aren't really jiving with your audience, and in fact, it seems that they really like your behind-the-scenes content. And when you're making notes about reels or other types of video that you share, keep an eye on the format. What length of video consistently does better? Is it shorter videos? Is it longer videos? Does trending audio do better than a voiceover? And notice the topics. Does educational content do better than funny, relatable content, or vice versa? For any particularly high-performing videos where they've done really well in terms of plays or views or clicks or saves or comments, really pull apart that video to try to understand what made it do so well so that you can replicate that again and again and again. I like to make all of these notes next to the content calendar from the previous month, and as I do so, I add in any ideas that are coming to me for next month's content plan. Because that's what this spreadsheet is really for. It's to arm you with ideas for your next content planning session, so you never sit down to an empty computer screen or a blank page again, or sit there for hours wasting time waiting for inspiration to strike. Speaking of your precious time, let's talk about redesigning your best content or sharing it in a different way, because this video is all about growing fast on Instagram, and there's nothing faster or more efficient than wringing all of the juice out of one idea. I do this all the time. Once I've added in the data to my content calendar from the last 30 days, what I then do is I change the filter to 6 months, and I have a look at my top 5 or 6 best performing posts for comments, saves, and follows. And then I hone in on the topics, the captions, and the comments of these posts, and I think of ways of repurposing them into something new. I did that with this carousel post here, which had 8 tips inside of it. So what I did was I pulled it apart and I recreated it into individual standalone reels that focused on one tip at a time. I did it with this post here. Instead, this time I really didn't change very much at all. This is my best performing post ever in terms of saves. So what I did was I just updated the design. That is all I did in terms of repurposing. And same here with this text graphic. It really resonated with my audience. So all I did was I zhuzhed up the design and I reshared it a few months later. If a post performs really well, don't let it die. There's a reason that it really resonated with your audience. So never be afraid of resharing an idea. Just make sure that you've left at least a month gap between when you last shared it and when you're planning to reshare it. Plus, sharing a similar message or your unique expertise is a great way of reinforcing brand awareness and becoming known for your unique style, wisdom, or perspective. Now that you know how valuable your insights are and exactly how to use them, you're going to want to know how to create amazing reels that expand your reach and excite your audience, right? Check out this video right here to find out exactly how to do just that.